Hi, welcome to today's courageous question. Today's question comes from Kay, and she shared that she'd been in therapy for a while but had yet to share with her therapist about her abuse. And she shared, I want to share with my therapist about the abuse, flashbacks, body memories, and nearly nightly nightmares. But I feel nauseous and literally can't find my voice. How do I stop being so afraid so I can open up? Whether it's to your therapist about abuse or somebody else about abuse or even anything else that just feels really vulnerable, it's hard. It's risky because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And when you've been betrayed from abuse, it's natural to anticipate that you will continue to be betrayed. I wish there were a simple answer. I wish that there was something that I could say that if you do this, you will no longer be afraid. But the reason that I talk about courage in the way that I do, the reason that my practice is called Courageous Journeys, is because it takes so much courage to be able to speak your truth. It takes courage to feel all of that fear and uncertainty and do it anyway. And kind of an unfortunate truth, unfortunate in some ways, but not always, is that the only way we move past that fear is by feeling the fear, honoring that it's there, but do it anyway. I know that feels scary. It can feel incredibly overwhelming and nauseating, as Kay spoke about. It doesn't feel good. Everything in you is telling you no, 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 no. It's not safe. You can't trust. What will she think? What will he do? Right? That fear is actually designed to protect us so that doesn't really work, but on some level, if we listen to that fear, we believe that we'll keep from ever being hurt again. Unfortunately, that isn't the truth. Being vulnerable and sharing your truth isn't what leads to more betrayal or hurt. The key is when you think about sharing something with somebody, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a professional, whether it's about abuse or just that you're actually having a bad day, being able to think about, who am I sharing this with? Has this person shown me, maybe it's in small ways or bigger ways, but sometimes it's just small ways. Has this person given me reason to believe that they will support me, that they will not judge me? Maybe you shared other things with them. Maybe they've shared things with you. Maybe they don't talk about all your friends behind their back to you. There's lots of ways that people can kind of show us without intentionally doing so that they may be trustworthy. There's also a lot of ways that people show us that they're not. And one of the difficulties that we have, I think, as humans, and maybe even more so as somebody who's been abused as a child, is discerning the difference between those things. Being able to really connect with our intuition around the level of safety instead of talking ourselves in or out of something. But if somebody's given you some reason to believe that maybe they can hear that and hold the space for you and maybe even support you, then how you move past that fear is by taking a deep breath and sharing. I know it's scary. I wish there were an easier way. But when you do that, when you push through the fear, when you don't let that fear control you, and you share what it is that you want to share, whether it's about abuse, whether it's how you're feeling, whether it's telling somebody that you love them for the first time, when you push through that fear, and on the other side is a knowing glance, a supportive word, a me too. In that moment, you learn, you retrain your automatic response to know that it can be okay and safe to share. And then the next time you have a lived experience, you have a felt experience in your body of what that feels like. So it gets easier each time. It's still scary. And depending on what it is that you're sharing, it's going to be scary no matter what. But courage, healing, life really isn't about not being afraid. It's not about that at all. What matters is, what do you do with that fear? And fear is not necessarily a bad thing, but being able to recognize that for most of us, the fear is trying to keep us safe. But in reality, what it does is keep us disconnected. It keeps us living in shame. Because when we keep the things that we are fearful of sharing to ourselves, it reinforces the shame that we feel. And once we are able to share that with somebody, again, even if it's just how we're truly feeling, instead of saying, I'm fine, we have an opportunity to retrain our automatic response. We get to have an experience that can show us that there are people, there are times when it can be perfectly safe to trust, and not only safe to trust, but on the other side of that, when you do that, you feel a sense of lightness, of freedom, of connection. You often deepen relationships when you do that. And when it comes to sharing with a therapist or somebody that is there to help you heal, and the same is true for a medical doctor, but when you've shared the thing that you don't want to share, then that person is able to actually help you because they're able to address that thing. When you don't share what's really going on, if you go to the doctor and you say, gosh, I've been feeling worn out for some time now and I don't know why, but inside you know that you are not sleeping, you know that you're not eating well, you know that every time you stand up, you have severe pain, but you're not sure what your doctor is going to think about it or what the doctor is going to say to you, and so you don't tell them. Well, they can only help you to the degree that they know what is really going on. And the same is true for a therapist. I know for me as a therapist, if I've asked you, because it's part of my intake paperwork, if I've asked you if you've been abused and you say no, which does happen quite often, even if there is an abuse history, but if you say no, then when you tell me that you're struggling with trust, for example, I can't get a full understanding of why you might be struggling with trust. So I can't address the real issue if I don't know that there's a really obvious reason that you would struggle with trust. And you can only get help to the degree that you know that that person fully understands what's going on. So, I'm sorry that there isn't a simple answer. I really wish that there was. But the more that you do it, the more that you practice speaking up and sharing the things that you're afraid to share, again, with somebody who has shown you that you have reason to trust them, the easier it becomes, the less intense those fearful feelings are in your body. So, something to think about. And maybe this is on my mind because this just came up in the course of Journey to Wholeness on the week that we're on. But consider, is there something that you've wanted to share with somebody? It doesn't have to be about abuse. It could be anything. But you've held yourself back, fearing, what are they going to think? What are they going to do? Are they going to judge me? Are they not going to like me? Are they going to be angry? Right? How often do you ask yourself those questions? How often do you believe that those things are actually going to happen? So, what is something that you've wanted to share? And then figure that out, and then share it. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something that you dreamed about as a child that you've never really shared with anybody because you feel like it was a silly dream, or it's completely unrealistic. So you feel silly or embarrassed that you would have dreamt about it. Just share that with somebody. Maybe even laugh about it. But the more you practice sharing those things, the easier it becomes, and the further up that mountain you get. Every time that you're vulnerable, you're moving further up that mountain. Taking those risks and realizing that on the other side of that risk is often something incredible, something healing, something beautiful, a deep connection, a moment of recognizing that you're not alone. That is what this process is all about. I'd love for you to come back and share with me what you decided or who you decided to share with. How it felt. Did it turn out better than your fear might have allowed you to believe that it would? I'd really love to hear about it. You can share here in the comments. I'd really love to hear about it. You might inspire somebody else. So thank you, Kay, for asking the question. I hope that it helps. And especially with this time of year, this is close to the holiday season. There's a lot of uncertainty that can come up. There's a lot of times when you feel like your voice has to be silenced. Maybe consider this an opportunity to practice. Thank you all for joining me today. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Have a beautiful day.